Hello my sweets, it's Keisha. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome, and thank you so much for choosing to watch my video. In today's Christmas in July video, I'll be showing you how I made this super cute gingerbread decor piece inspired by one I saw on Pinterest. And if you're ready to see how, just keep watching. What I have here is an ornament from Dollar Tree, and this was from last year's collection. Usually they have something like this every year, so hopefully they'll bring a version of this back this year if you don't happen to have this on hand. And I'm just going to remove the tag here, and this has frayed quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is just kind of cut off the extra strings that are kind of poking out just to make it a little bit neater. But that rustic ragtag look isn't too bad either, because I'm going to get some of that on the brim, but I just want to take down some of these strings a little bit. And then I'm going to take some matte Mod Podge and let it kind of act like, if you're familiar with fray check in sewing, I'm just going to take some of the matte Mod Podge just to seal those threads and hopefully stop it from fraying anymore. And I was tempted to do more, but I'm going to try to keep this one simple. So all I'm going to do is just go around where those threads were and along the edge of the brim with a little bit of Mod Podge, and then set it aside to dry. I forgot that I also wanted to come around kind of in the center here, not around the whole thing, just to kind of line up a spot here with the Mod Podge. Because I am going to be working on cutting out a spot here later. So I'm just going to come around the middle with some of this Mod Podge, so when I come back to cut it later, hopefully the idea is that it's not going to fray as badly when I come in here to cut it. So I'm just going to do a circle here. And I think that'll be good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and set that aside to dry. So what I've got here next is one of those snow globes that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. This is the stopper, the waterproof stopper thing, and then the bottom. And what I've already done is gone ahead and sanded this down to help the paint stick better to it. And I'm going to go ahead and do some of this portion here too. I am going to be priming it with chalk paint. That is something that I like to do sometimes with this, with the chalk paint. And if I'm going to go ahead and do acrylics over it, just because the chalk paint will stick better to the plastic than some acrylic paints do. They do make multi-surface paints also, but chalk paints is one of my favorite things to use, but you don't always have the color range that you want. So anyway, I'm just sanding the lid down a little bit too as well, even though I'm not able to get into these grooves as good, but we're going to do that while the hot glue gun is heating up, because what I want to do next is take these rocks just to give this some bottom weight and glue the rocks onto this plastic. So hopefully I'll be able to get those glued on there properly. So I'm going to rough up the bottom of this here too. And this is just a scrap piece of, I think this is 220 grit sandpaper that I just have been using it for a while. It hasn't completely worn out on me, so it's still doing the job. Alright, so it doesn't have to be anything too extensive. So I'm going to go ahead and move those over and then see if the glue gun is hot enough just to get these stacked on here. And these rocks are also from Dollar Tree. You can buy a bag of them for $1. So just get a healthy amount of glue on there. And I'm just going to try to stay inside the perimeter of this cap so that when I go to put it back in, it'll go in like it's supposed to. Okay, I think that's going to be sufficient. So I'm going to get set up to paint. I will be right back. So here I have some Plaster Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to go ahead and start painting this sphere. So once those dry, what I'm going to do is do another coat on them and then go to the next step. So I just came back to this and I noticed that the Mod Podge made the burlap a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the Mod Podge all over it just so it'll all match together. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just move on to the next step and put the Mod Podge on later. So what I want to do is just begin cutting a hole down in this. And I'm just going to go around with my box cutter here and just cut this burlap out. And I believe there's maybe a layer of cardboard and then also styrofoam. So I'm going to end up probably digging out just a little bit of the styrofoam to fit on our globe. I'm just going to slowly work this around. I'm just going to dig a little bit of this out, and I think the sphere is just dry enough for me to see here. Just kind of want it to not be so flat and just sticking on top. So I think I need to cut the hole just a little bit bigger, but you don't want to go past this portion of the hat, if that makes sense. So I still have a little ways to go, so I'm going to go a little bit outside. Okay, so that kind of sets down a little bit better. Well, I don't know that I can cut any more of it out, so we're just going to leave it as that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work on this portion, and I'll be back with the next step. Next, what I have here in this bowl to paint the globe here is Territorial Beige, Nutmeg Brown, and Harvest Orange. It's mostly Territorial Beige, then Nutmeg Brown to kind of darken it up, and then the Harvest Orange to give it a little bit more of a spicy color. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and paint over this guy. And it looks like I may have to do 2 coats of this. I think that's a good gingerbread color. It looks a little washed out in the camera, but it's pretty rich in person. And next I just have some white and red apple. And first what I'm going to do is, I'm trying to decide, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and paint the whole thing white. Then in between these areas on the lid, I don't know if you can kind of pick that up, there's spaces here. I'm going to paint every other one red, so it's a red and white stripe. So we're going to start with the white. So I think the less time consuming thing would have been to actually use white, for me, would have been to use white chalk paint so I could just skip to the red, and I didn't think of that. But if you do recreate this project, you may want to go that route rather than having to do more work than what's necessary. So I'm gonna let this dry, well, both of them dry, and I'm gonna do a second coat of this paint here once this is completely dry, and then I'm gonna come in with the red on this one once that's completely dry. Okay, so I've painted the edge of this with the red and white. And then what I did was I took a piece of cork from Dollar Tree. It's the one that's self-adhesive, and I traced it. So I'm going to cut it just inside of that black line, so it's a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to use that to cover the bottom. Now if you don't have this cork, another option is that you can use felt. I think that would be a good alternative to the cork, just so that if it's on any surfaces that you want to keep protected, they won't get ruined. So let's go ahead and get that going. And I'm just going to try to center this up. And it's down. So the next thing I'm going to do is, this head is dry. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a center mark here. I'm going to go to one side or the other. Let's see, this side isn't painted as well, so I'm going to come on this side, and I'm just going to sketch a little face for our gingerbread man. Let's see. So I'm just putting a center mark here, what looks like center to me with the pencil. Okay. Oh, I got the shakes. So I'm going to draw a nose right on that center mark. Okay. Hopefully that's big enough. Then what I'm going to do is draw some eyes here. And I'm just doing like a teardrop shape. Ooh, that one's a little crooked. I may have to do some touch-up paint. I don't know if you can, there you can kind of see it there. And then let's just do a little smiley. Sorry, that's not picking up very well. But I do think I want to widen that just a hair. And I'm definitely going to have to do some touch-up paint. Alright, and now I'm going to do the squiggly lines around the head. Oop. One a little farther. And a little close on that side. Let's fix it. Fix it. I'm gonna do some guidelines so I know what I'm working towards. Okay. Going this way. Okay. I think that's better. All right, so now I'm gonna get the paints together to paint in the face. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the first color I have here is Cameo Pink by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to go in and do the cheeks. And I'm just using, this looks like a mini chip brush, and all I'm going to do is come up to the edge of the smile and just tap this color around. As I'm tapping it, I am spinning the brush with my fingers. Okay, so that's what I have so far. And next I'm going to come in, this is Jet Black. And I have a, excuse me, I'm sorry. I have a detailed brush here, and I'm just going to go in and fill in the eyes. First I'm going to outline where my pencil mark is. Another option for this step would be to use a paint pen. Okay. Next I'm going to do the nose, and I'm using the red apple again. And the same detailed brush. Okay, I'm going to come back to the black and fill in the smile. Okay, that's this little face. And now I'm going to come in with the white. And I'm going to do the squiggle mark. And I'm going to go over this again. I'm going to come in again with the pink. Okay. And this one looks a good size. So I'm going to dot the end of the paintbrush because those eyes are pretty solid. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 little dots. Like that. I think he's cute. So I'm going to let this dry down a little bit, and I'm going to go over this white part one more time, because it's not completely opaque and I'd like it to be. And then I'm also gonna do some touch-ups with the gingerbread color, and then we're gonna go on to the next step. I touched up the squiggly line, and then I decided I wanted to add a little catch light over the nose, and then I put a couple of little eyelashes too, and then I also touched up the eraser marks. You can kind of see them, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe it just hasn't dried, because that was the last thing I did, that it hasn't fully dried yet. But yeah, I think our Gingy is looking super cute. So the next thing I'm going to do now is go ahead and put on the base here. It's now looking like a cute scarf. I think that's adorable. And then I'm going to also go ahead and add the hat as the finishing touch. So I'm pretty sure that's where I want it. Let's see. I think that's cute too on that side. I'm kind of not liking it just straight on. I think I get that from my mom. My mom always would tip her hat sideways. So I'm going to go ahead and do it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the inside rim of the hat. Hopefully I don't run out of glue first. Okay. Idea is this is going to run back down once I get it into place. Set that down right there like that. I think our Gingy is looking adorable. And now another option, if you aren't into the Gingies, another option is to, you could do this into a snowman also by just doing white and then a carrot nose. So that's an option too if you aren't into gingerbreads. But this project is complete and I'm going to take some pictures. I've had this cutie saved since last year and I'm so happy I finally got to make it. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, love, inspire, create. See you next time.